Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Inside. Now, I am Brent West, along with Jack Lord and Rodney West. We'll be talking professional wrestling. I was looking through this program just really quick here as we were as our opening was coming on, and hey, see that? Look at all them lady wrestlers right there. They all got like a headlock on everybody there. Uh, does everybody today in professional wrestling have lady matches? Because that's just the kind of stuff they did in little people matches. I think it's all turned into that now. Pro wrestling.
There's the one thing that they don't know, Brett. They don't know what a headlock is.
Oh, that is true.
It's very strange. You cannot do that kind of thing if you don't know what a headlock is.
See, I don't even think they know what them two guys are doing. Do they ever do any moves anymore? Right?
That's whisper in each other's ear, and yes, they do that a lot.
But they don't whisper.
That's correct.
Oh, they're Sid Vicious, says. Sid Vicious. We were in Birmingham, Alabama, and he was going against maybe Lex Luger. I know it could have been Sting. I can't remember. And man, he was hollering, "Kick me, kick me!" And I'm thinking, who are you telling? You telling Sting, or you telling the person way up there on the top roll up there? And I'm thinking, oh man, Sid, you should really think about going back to softball, because that's just killing the pro wrestling business. What's going on in the world of professional wrestling, Jack? I know you've got some information, and then we'll talk to Rodney about what he has seen this week in pro.
All right, let's hit the ratings real quick. Dynamite was just over 1 million again this week. I did not get the full breakdown as to how many hundreds of thousands they lost before the end of the show, but I'm sure since that is a consistent thing, that happened yet again last Wednesday night. They had 2 1-hour specials on live Friday night and did dismal ratings. They had their regular Rampage episode that drew 404,000, and Battle of the Belts, which followed immediately after, drew a paltry 317,000. SmackDown, 2.2 million. Raw rebounded big last night with a 1.824 million. NXT is still holding strong with a 625,000. Don't tell Tony Khan, he doesn't know. Last night also saw the return of Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, which they had been with WWE before, and really, if you only saw them in WWE when they were there before, they were pretty much a comedy act, as were most tag teams under Vince at that time. But if you ever saw them in New Japan, they're really very good tag team. But this also signified the fact that WWE now has a working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling, because Carl Anderson holds one of the major belts there and is going to be allowed to go back next month to defend that title. So AEW and New Japan had a working agreement for a long time, apparently smartly on their part, I would suppose. That is over with. Former Tough Enough winner Sarah Lee passed away last week. She was only 30 years old. A GoFundMe was set up to raise $20,000 for funeral and other expenses, but has crossed over $100,000 as of the weekend. Her husband was Wesley Blake, who teamed with Buddy Murphy in NXT and briefly either Raw or SmackDown. I don't remember which one they were on. Tales of the Territory is back for their second episode tonight, which will feature the Jerry Lawler versus Andy Kaufman episode. Did y'all watch last week's show?
Yes, I did watch it.
I thought that was pretty good. I don't know. Maybe I was thinking that it was going to be like a review of the history of the promotion. I really wasn't expecting them to have that round table, but I really liked that. I did. Triple H threw a little subtle shade at AEW last night when he told other members of the DX not to be fighting backstage. Bray Wyatt returned at Extreme Rules and garnered over 8 million views on social media. 8 million views, in case you didn't hear that, folks. That's a lot of views. He will also not be wrestling for a while. He's just going to be appearing on, I think, SmackDown. I'm not sure if he's going to actually be on Raw or not, but they're going to reestablish whatever the next stage, next character that he's going to be portraying for a while before he actually has a match. The Rock told an interviewer over the weekend that he was the head of the table, not anybody else. And when the interviewer asked, said, well, are you saying that you're going to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? He said, it's not what I'm saying, but it's also not what I'm saying. So, he knows how to work. Vince Russo has accused all the members of DX of blackballing him from the wrestling industry. And if this is true, we owe DX a huge amount of gratitude. And
We
that is
sure
my
do.
news.
Hey, he's the modern day Jim Wilson, then, isn't he?
Pretty much.
He pretty well told. As we go through the Georgia Championship Wrestling history, we're actually going to talk about the Jim Wilson lawsuit that he had against Georgia Championship Wrestling. It was very interesting, and I actually got to read parts of the trial and stuff that went on. It was not really, I don't guess it really was a trial. I guess it was just what he sent. Very interesting. Vince Russo. No, Vince, you wasn't blackballed from wrestling. People just figured out you didn't know what you were doing. And that's exactly what's going to eventually happen to our poor friend Tony Khan. They're eventually going to figure out, and I believe they already have, that he has no clue what he's doing. Money has the money, but no clue in what he's doing. Rodney, what's going on in the
Well, as you know, Mr. Khan is vying for the third year to be the Dirt Sheet Booker of the Year. Mr. Bischoff is making fun of him. Oh, yes, I'm working. He's going to be it for the third year in a row. But here's the thing, Mr. Khan. Everybody's talking about your company being in disarray, which there was another story about that. If you read that nonsense, this person, they should take his pen, they should take his keyboard away, never let him write again, because he's absolutely clueless about what needs to be done with AEW. But yeah, Mr. Bischoff is talking about, well, he's going to be for the third year. He's going to be the Booker of the Year. Who would think that AEW is the Booker of the Year? Think about what's happened this past week with Extreme Rules. All the headlines about the in-ring product, not what the disarray and the childish actions of your children, your employees backstage. They're talking about the product. They're talking about Bray Wyatt. What are they talking about with Tony Khan? Wondering what in the world is he doing? I think that, quite frankly, Tony, put the straw down, pull it out of your nose, all righty, and get a clue. All right, that's what you need to do. All right, and then this guy that was writing, and I failed to write his name down, about everybody's talking about how they're in disarray. And then he begins to tell him what needs to be done for his company, and it's the exact model of WWE is what the guy is asking, is making the suggestion for Tony Khan to do. If you think that what the world needs is 4 more hours of WWE on television, you're sadly mistaken. We don't need that. If you're going to get in the business, don't get in the business to try to copy something on the other channel. Be an original. Be an original on the show. Then we have a bitter party of one, Jimmy Smith, after being let go. Talking about now he's besmirching the WWE, talking about how Roman Reigns can't fight. Jimmy, why didn't you say that to his face while you were there? You wait till you leave. You wait till you leave to do that. And I think some people were asking about the announcers being changed up. On all the, and we'll get to that momentarily. Karrion Kross, one of the big, huge headlines this week, talking about why he grew his hair out. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, For those of you who are writing, that is not a story. That is not a story. However, Mr. Cross has basically is be given the Tony Khan Award for comparing Roman Reigns to Bruno Sammartino. Now, any of you out there think that Roman Reigns has reached the level of Bruno Sammartino? Seriously. Please write in. That way we can make fun and chastise you on the program. AJ Styles, as you were saying,
comparing him. Let me ask you this: do you think they're only comparing him because wasn't Bruno Sammartino the champion for maybe 8 years?
I think 12 years altogether.
So, I mean, I don't think Roman Reigns is going to even come close. Is that the only reason? Because he's one of the longest reigning champions. That I mean, I don't think.
They specify that he's the longest reigning champion of the modern day era.
Yes, okay. Well, I'm sorry, but I disagree with you. I disagree with them. Let's remember the no-show earlier this year where he had the phony corona and did not show up. Should have been stripped of the title, pulled a no-show, can't defend the title. I'm sick. I can't defend my title. If Bruno would have said, I'm sick, I can't defend my title, they'd be stripping the belt off of him. And here we go with the tournament or whatever, or have the two top contenders, whatever. Ronda Rousey is now the SmackDown champion again. And her idea is she wants to do the 4 horsewomen, and you have to be careful with that, or you'll get banned from the internet for saying that. It's 4 horse women, because of something similar that she had done previously in MMA. Then we, of course, I think Jack alluded to Carl Anderson and coming in with AJ Styles to create what WWE needs, another group. This is, I'm not getting the idea of why we're doing the groups. Does anybody understand? I understand maybe they're taking an established person and then taking 2 others and putting with them. Maybe that's the concept. Of course, back when the WWE was going, or WWF was with Vince McMahon Sr., they had the 3 managers for all their years. They had the Grand Wizard, Lou Albano, and they had Fred Blassie. And to give the wrestlers, some sort of credibility, they stuck them with the 3 wrestlers. Maybe this is a similar concept, but it seems like every single person is now with the group. Next, I'm
going to be.
We say that as a 3-man group here.
We are a group. However, what's our name? We have to come up with
the Professors of Wrestleology.
Oh, yes. The professor. Okay, very good.
Very good. There in the corner.
Legado del what is that?
Phantasmo.
Yeah, another group. We needed one more. And apparently next week we'll have 3 others. So apparently that's just one group after another. Again, talking about the controversial of the TV show, a controversy of a match from SmackDown between Gunther and Sheamus. Again, a headline while they were talking about Tony Khan on the other. He is the center of all their controversy. No one is talking about the product. None whatsoever. That's what I found to be
did you notice that he said in an interview, Tony Khan said in an interview, that he kind of said CM Punk was in the office?
Yes.
All that.
I'm beginning to wonder if the whole thing with the fight is because CM Punk was injured and could not wrestle. And all the rest of us are saying, thank God.
I got to ask you a question about this for just a second. Do you think, I've never seen the offices of AEW. Do they have like 12 floors? And each one of them floors have like 42 offices, and every wrestler there has an office and they're part of the office staff?
I remember seeing, it got spoiled. A lot of matches and stuff got spoiled. I guess it was last year when Tony Khan was sitting in the bleachers at a football game with all his notes out, working during the football game, planning his matches out, and people so I guess the actual office is in his dad's football stadium. I guess you can seat anywhere you want. It's a great way to keep all of them that's fighting separate. You go to the end zone, you go to the other end zone.
Well, I have to say that the idea this and it goes to show you how much influence the WWE has. When the answer to a person's or a company's problems is to copy your competitor. Um,
But did they
to
not
me, like,
lie? Did Tony Khan not lie to the network and tell them they were going to get a sports based product, and he ends up getting a worse product than WWE produces as far. And I'm not saying WWE's product is bad. I'm just saying it's bad comically or goofiness as WWE. And if they were going to get that product, wouldn't they just contacted Vince McMahon and the WWE and got the
the
top,
original.
the originals?
They got the original instead of the carbon copy. Exactly.
Copy of what they had, because that's not what he told people he was going to give them.
Can you imagine though having an outsider to tell you, hey, you need a writer for your show? So they need somebody to write those interviews for MJF because obviously he's not doing a good job. You know, it's amazing. Another question, I'll have it for Kevin because he may know. I have stumbled on my YouTube channel on where I watch YouTube a lot on a show, and I think I sent a copy to you, Brent. Jack, I don't think I did to you, but it's called Universal Wrestling Association. It was in 1976. Lou Thez was the announcer. I don't recognize the other guy. Tremendous voice. Apparently, from what I was reading up on, this was basically a Southeast company in 76. They had Ken Ramey and the interns, Gentleman Saul Weinroff, and the Islanders, which is Alpha and Sika, the Samoans, was on there. And I just wonder, I think Kevin does know, Buzz Benson. I found it to be very interesting. The production was tremendous, I have to admit, and it was a pretty decent show. And I was just wondering if anybody knew anything, because that was the first time I've ever heard of this promotion. But apparently it was in 76. It was short-lived, as most were, but primarily run in the Southeast into West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, I think some. But I just wonder if anybody had any news, any more information about it, because that is the first time I've ever heard of it or even seen it.
Well, Randy, I see what you said there. Now that is for our show that we do after this. That's for the supporter only show for $2.99 a month, because we say stuff on there that we would say on here, but we won't be able to post his comment. When you go back and you look at and Ron, you ask about that UWA, I believe Saul might have been the booker of that.
I like I said, that is the first I've ever heard of it.
Well, I had heard about it because something I read some kind of information on it that Lou Thez had something to do with it. Also, I think Saul might have had something major to do with that show. But we'll talk about that too as we get into eventually talking. Right now, we're doing all the research on Georgia Championship Wrestling. We've done part one. If you're not watching, it's on our YouTube channel. Before Georgia Championship Wrestling, basically, and we're going to do another one. One thing that I did not find out, and maybe someone on here will tell you, when did the company, in Georgia, let's talk Georgia, when did it start being called Georgia Championship Wrestling? I'm not for sure when Paul Jones came along, because there was a lot of promoters that came along before Paul Jones. I think tremendously looking back at it and looking at the research, I'm not for sure Morris Siegel out of Houston, Texas didn't have something to do with all this, because the promoters changed drastically and they promoted the same building, the Atlanta City Auditorium. So there had to be somebody calling the shots at that time, because they kept on moving the people out. They might not be there for 3 months. And then a new promoter would come in, and then they would be gone in about 3 months, and someone else would be brought in. So Richard Hitch said it was 1944. Georgia Championship Wrestling started being called Georgia Championship Wrestling in 1944. All right, so that's good, because I'm doing research right now. We're going to do part 2 here soon. It won't be next week. Next week, we will have the writer of the Sheik's book. He will be on here with us, and he will be talking about his book about the Sheik, and hopefully he will give us a lot of insights on the Sheik and that Detroit territory and his career. Ron, anything else going on in wrestling today?
I believe we've covered it all. There's only so much burying of Tony Khan you can do, but we certainly enjoy every moment of it.
Jack, anything else going on in the world of professional?
I think we're caught up.
Well, we're probably never going to see the Ring of Honor ever come back in existence since Tony Khan's had it. So,
well, and that's another thing. Why would you buy something simply to keep it away from somebody else if you didn't have a plan for it? That blows my mind. The man becomes the number one stooge of professional wrestling. I'm just telling you, it's just no ends to the folly of the company, and to think about the opportunity that has been granted or he has taken, the amount of resources that he had to make something absolutely big, and all he's done is drop the ball. It's an amazing amazing failure that we're watching right before our eyes.
Zoom me in, cameraman. Zoom
me in. Okay, zoom me in, cameraman. Hold on, let me get to you there.
Somebody, I don't think Tony Khan was around, but somebody had Lars Anderson and Charlie Fulton messed up on this program here. As you see right there, it says Lars Anderson. Well, that's Charlie Fulton.
I'm sure Charlie Fulton went in and told him, if that happens again, I'm going to quit.
Drew, tremendous wrestler, tremendous during that point in time in Atlanta.
That's a great time because Ernie Ladd that's Jay Strongbow. That's when he tore up the headdress. He had Strongbow put him out with the sleeper hold. I've seen it over and over again. It's just brilliant. And then he tries to. The referee makes Strongbow wake up Ernie Ladd, and Ernie lays there like he's still out, and he takes his shoe off and then beats up Strongbow, ties him up in the ropes, and then tears up his headdress and shoves it down puts it in his mouth. And really good stuff.
It was good stuff, but do you know what the problem with that whole angle was there at that point? Because it didn't draw. Because Chief Jay Strongbow was not over.
Nope, he was not. He was not.
And it did not get over because nobody cared.
And I have to ask, and I'm not to take away from Strongbow from a tremendous accomplishment, but I have to say that if you compare the chops of Wally McDaniel and Jay Strongbow, there's no comparisons.
There was Ted and Jerry Oates on my top 10, I believe. Top 10 tag teams. Great tag team. Tremendous. Never got the credit they deserve in professional wrestling as being a tremendous tag team. Could wrestle and out wrestle anybody they wrestled with.
It was amazing. We've talked about the really bad booking with the Freebirds to the point where they were so strong that people started cheering for them. And against Ted and Jerry Oates on that particular show, the people were yelling for the Freebirds. Go, buddy, go. It was amazing. That was just an amazing time, really.
Now, is this when Austin Idol first came in for the full time? Would this have been when he came in the first time, or is this 1980? He came in 1979, didn't he?
Right. That'll be about the same time.
About the same era. This probably the January, February, somewhere around there. Well, just I keep on every time I see Austin Idol, Baron von Raschke, I kind of cringe. Hey, Wahoo McDaniel was here there. If they would have done that same deal with him, it would have drew a whole lot more money.
I think you're right.
Just Strongbow was not over. Just never was over. He might have been back in the early 70s.
Well, he probably George is saying something that he probably worked in Georgia as Joe Scarpa. The truth, and I would say that's the truth.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I would think so. And it just, good.
And you think about it though, with Valentine against Strongbow, and there's a tremendous match right after the leg incident with Strongbow, where Greg Valentine hurt him. He came back to Philadelphia. That match is, it's on fire. That crowd is on fire. And it's just the difference of how he was portrayed, I think, or how he was booked. But I think, whereas Wahoo McDaniel was primarily in the Southeast, Wahoo really never went to the WWE that I can remember, that I could ever remember Wahoo being in the WWF. And I could be wrong. He might have been there. I never saw him.
He did wrestle for him for a while, because we did the. I'm not for sure what we got on part 3 or 4 of Chief Wahoo McDaniel, but he did wrestle there very briefly, because I think he got into it with.
Well, you would think, though, again, it could be, and you would think, though, that because Strongbow was over so much, in that he would kind of be overshadowed from Strongbow in the WWF.
I got to share this card because we were there, and I will tell you this. Can you read this? Can you see it, or is it?
Hold on. Main event is the lumberjack match. It looks like Chris Colt against Bobby Eaton. The special challenge grudge match. Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee against Terry Gordy and Michael Hayes, Pretty Boy Hayes. Tojo Yamamoto against George Goulas. Let's see. That's Buck Buckler. No, Rock. Is it Buck Buckler? And Dennis Condrey against Robert Gibson, the Mexican Angel, and Ricky Morton against Butch Thornton.
Butch Thornton. Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, Terry Gordy, Michael Hayes. Tremendous match. I remember it, and I remember the Chris Colt Bobby Eaton match, because I believe after this lumberjack match they have a coal miner's glove match the very next week. Pretty good crowds. 1979, pretty good crowds in Chattanooga to see this. So I just wanted to go over.
Hey, Jason Mundy's got a story about Wahoo, and the reason he didn't go back to WWF. Let me poke that just for a second. We'll put that up. After he was traded to the New York Jets in 1964. Oh, wait a minute. I've skipped. I've done the wrong one. Jason Mundy right here. Sorry, we'll get to the other one too. We'll get to George. Wahoo was supposedly beat up staff members backstage over payoff for the WWF in the late 1960s and never went back. That'll do it.
Hey, did you read that in that book, Jack?
Yeah. I believe that is.
That would explain it right there. His payoff, it's not the payoff.
He did not feel like they paid him appropriate to his drawing power up there. And he was a major draw, playing on the team up there and everything. But they wanted to pay him like a prelim guy.
And that's what George was saying. I think that was what George was talking about right here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, after he was traded to the New York Jets in 1964, McDaniel began wrestling for Vincent J. McMahon's Worldwide Wrestling Federation. In January 1965, McDaniel wrestled for the first time in New York City's famous Madison Square Garden. And it says he defeated, he wrestled the first time in New York's famous Madison Square Garden, defeating Boris Malenko. Jacques Rougeau. I want to thank him so much. He came on our pro wrestling Facebook page. We put a newspaper ad that had him going against El Lobo, and he talked about the ticket prices being $6, $4, and $2, I believe they were. He said, "Wow, look at what people paid to come see me in Birmingham, Alabama, on whatever dates that was." And I was thinking, well, Jock, technically, they didn't really pay to come see you. They came to see Bob Brad. But we were just
for the same price. They got to see him too.
That's right. Well, they have to have a good concession match.
Yeah, we had a lot of people not know who the Midnight Express, the original Midnight Express, was. Dennis Conner, Randy Rhodes, and Norvell Austin went against Bob Brad, and I believe it was Scott Armstrong. I'm pretty sure it was. In the main event, in Birmingham, Alabama, packed house. I'm pretty sure to go see that match. But Jacques Rougeau, good friend of ours, people didn't realize that he wrestled for the territories, and he did. He wrestled as Jerry Roberts for Georgia Championship Wrestling for maybe a year, maybe even a little longer. Went to the Memphis territory, wrestled there as Jacques Rougeau. Went to Southeastern Championship Wrestling, not only the southern part of it, but the northern part as well, and wrestled as Jacques Rougeau as well. So he made the rounds, and then eventually ends up in the WWF as the Rougeau brothers and the Mountie. And what else did he do? He did something else.
The only two that I remember, they were all American boys.
Was he not a Quebecer as well?
Maybe that was he and Pierre. Yeah, they were the Quebecers.
That's what I thought. That was that WWF or was that WCW?
No, WWF.
All right, so I did not remember because I know he went to WCW as well. I think he lasted there maybe a couple of weeks. Probably about as much as he would probably last if he went and worked one match with AEW. Probably the only match he worked when he got to see Tony Khan.
Well, he wouldn't maybe be able to make it to the ring because of the fight might break out in the dressing room.
And he's good at fights. He's good at fights.
Yes, we saw him beat up a Usher at the Omni.
Oh, all right.
That Usher did the wrong thing. He was arguing with him because he was on the card. He just wrestled. And he had stopped him. He was, I guess he went up to the concession or whatever and come back down the steps. And that Usher was smarting off to him. And the Usher made the mistake by balling up his fist. And when he did, Jock hit him. And I mean, you heard smack. And boy, they came and got the police got him. I'm not sure what happened to the Usher was gone after that.
Yeah, I think so.
But he came back. It's the same one that wears. He was a smart aleck every time. And finally, Bobby Simmons got him. He smarted off to Bobby one time coming down the steps, and Bobby Simmons had him removed permanently from the Usher team.
Even in the 70s and 80s, he had buttholes.
Yes, you did. He was terrible. I mean, he would say, "All right, people, it's all a part of the show." So some people should not be working with the public. I'm one of them.
All right, let's go to the insiders. Tonight we're going to be talking. If you're a supporter, and I know some of these people are supporters, we'll go up there. There's no telling what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about Southeastern Wrestling, Georgia Championship, Mid-South Wrestling, just the way territories were, and maybe the same things that was going on today was going on then as well. And we'll talk about that tonight on their supporting channel. Let's see. Richard Hood is with us. Richard, how are you doing? I know Richard will be over there with us. Jason Mundy is also with us. Glenn Allen Shelton. Wendy Harkins is with us as well. Kevin Penley. Kevin Penley asked a question here in a minute, Rodney. So we wanted to make sure
yes. Yes. I'm ready. I am ready.
Kurt is with us as well. Evening, guys. Donnie Hester. Mako, once again, what's causing all this? Well, you know the thing. See a lot returning to WWE. Who else is returning to WWE, Jack?
Gosh, I think Bo Dallas is coming back. Yay!
Is he going to be the Fiend too?
I think they're probably going to put him with his brother.
Shocking.
Hey, there's going to be another group.
That's what they need. One more.
Hey,
why not? Why not? One more. We're getting ready for the Survivor Series. We'll need all those groups.
Ain't that in November?
Mm-hmm.
Does that come up in November? All right. Let's see. Richard Hood said they don't. No, a headlock from a wristwatch. There is some truth to that. I'm pretty sure. Happy birthday to Sam Houston. It's his birthday today. Let's see. Kevin Penley. Raw was okay last night, but could have done without the DX stuff. Was it bad?
It, for a scripted show, they went completely off script and showed very much, very, very good reason to why they should not have done that. They were having a good time. The crowd was having a good time, but it was not well put together.
I got you. And he says he's not a Shawn fan. Never was a big Shawn Michaels fan myself, except when he came back after he lost his smile and came back and found his smile. I thought he did pretty good.
Honestly, Shawn didn't really say a whole lot out there last night.
It was mostly probably Road Dogg.
Uh-huh.
Hey, who all was there? Just the three of them?
No, X-Pac was there too.
Oh, okay. All right. Last time he looked horrible. Did he look better this time?
He has not changed.
Rest in peace, Sarah Lee from Wendy Harkins. Glenn Allen Shelton, so far New Japan Wrestling Impact WA Tag Team Champions, OC Good Brothers. Dr. Phil Bull Grice said hello from Michigan Professors. Kevin Penley, this is for Rodney. If Rodney was asked to induct Kevin Sullivan in the Hall of Fame, what would his induction speech be like?
It will be the most memorable thing you have ever heard in your entire life. It would be so sickening of how I've just built him up, only just to tear him down in the end.
Well, you missed your opportunity because this is the
is it?
This is the program from this year's Cauliflower Alley Club, where Kevin Sullivan was named the Men's Wrestling Award. So that's another missed opportunity is all I can say.
Wow, I'm sorry I missed that. I'm sure did he have videos?
I don't know what all they did out there.
He might have some videos.
While I've got it up, the Mike Mazurki Award went to JBL. President's Award went to Jerry the King Lawler. Lucha Libre Award went to Conan, known for packing houses out nationwide in America. Tag Team Award went very deservingly to the Rock and Roll Express. The James C. Melby Historian Award went to Steve Johnson, who is a historian, does some great work. The Men's Wrestling Award also went to Tommy Wildfire Rich.
There you go.
Women's was Jacqueline. Rising Star was a young independent lady named Madison Miles. And Billy Silverman got the Charlie Smith Referees Award. And the posthumous award went to Christine Jarrett.
There you go. Christine Jarrett does not get the look at what she did in Evansville, Indiana, as a promoter there for many years. Knew what she was doing. Probably showed the rest of the people how to promote shows.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What's with the announcers roulette in WWE?
They we were complaining about having the 3-man announce team. And that's what they've done is they've done away with that on all programs. NXT, SmackDown, Raw all have 2-man teams now.
A good question by Kevin Penley. And Rodney, we'll get your opinion first, then we'll get Jack's. Had it not been for Turner to buy the UWF of Mid-South from Bill Watts, would Jim Ross be a household commentator now?
Probably not. The Crockett's acquisition of that, and maybe not even a Sting for that matter, because they all came from that that purchase. It's a good question about Jim Ross. Jim Ross is tremendous talent. I think we would have known him anyway. It might have took a little longer, but I think we would have known him still because of this tremendous talent. But he has a good question, and I think that it's that benefited him. That if you say merger with Crockett and Jim Crockett Promotions and Mid-South, UWF, it definitely benefits Jim Ross for sure.
Jack?
Mid South was on the verge of going out of business when they got bought. I don't believe they would have lasted a year longer than when the buyout was. So that would have meant a lot of that talent would have just been sitting at home. And WCW already knew whether they were going to buy the company or not. They knew the talent base that was there. So they simply could have just waited and picked up Jim Ross and Sting and Steiner and all those that they did bring in. So I think he might have been a year behind with everything, but I definitely think Jim Ross and all those other names would have made it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Jim Ross was tremendous at what he did. He had passion for what he did. Sometimes he had to be very careful when he knew what was going on. He would kind of let you know that it was fixing to happen.
He would telegraph bad.
He foretell the finishes and
and I have heard him say that he really preferred not to know, especially when he was in WWE.
It's true,
because he's better that way.
Yeah,
he really is.
Rick Brooks is with us as well. How you doing, Rick? Mickey Mayfield didn't get my notice for tonight's show until right now. It's always fun on Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah,
always fun.
Yeah.
Somebody asked who's Jimmy Smith, and I don't even know who Jimmy Smith is. Who is Jimmy?
Honestly, I mean, I was aware of who he was as a body behind that announce desk, but when they were, when the news came over, all the little sites and saying Jimmy Smith's gone, I had to look him up. I didn't know who he was. And even now, I couldn't tell you anything of significance that he said or called during his tenure there. Now, that's nothing against him. I heard he was great with MMA, and maybe he needs to shuffle on back to there now, where he appreciates that world. But he ain't missed.
I didn't even know who he was. I mean, Wendy Hargan said, Jimmy's too chicken to say it to Roman's face. He would not say that to Roman's face. I tell you that.
At the end of the day, let's remember what family Roman Reigns comes from.
Yes, yeah, that's not
that's right. His family will not knock a water fountain off a wall in a minute.
Yep,
that's right. Kokina did that in Dothan, Alabama. Got fired the very next night in Pensacola, Florida, for kicking that off. He said he went up. It was funny because Dad went up to him and said, "Hey, man," he said, I hate to do this. He said, "But you know what you did yesterday, last night. You kicked that water fountain off of there." He said, "I'm going to have to fire you." He said, I know, man." And Sika and Alpha both was there. They said, "Well, we understand you have to get rid of him." He said, "I hate to do it." Probably the best thing that ever happened to him, though, because soon after that, he goes to the WWE. So,
and there they took and hid the water fountains where he would knock them off.
The Tales of the Territories. Memphis was hilarious. It was a good story. I had heard most of these stories already. I didn't know that Jerry Jarrett pulled pulled Mario Galanto's eye out. I didn't know there were a fight that happened between him and later on it did happen between him and Mario Galanto and Jerry Lawler. But very interesting stories, and Jimmy Hart has some good stories as well. Yeah. So if you've not watched it, if you like the old school wrestling, you'll enjoy those. Now they don't tell you nothing else. I mean, where was Bill Dundee during all this stuff?
That's a good question. I wonder why they didn't have him on there. I mean, it would have been a natural for him to be there.
Roman Reigns is no Bruno Sammartino.
Well, get with Karrion Kross. He believes he is.
Kevin said, "Well, was Rodney on the high school debate team?"
Apparently, high school. That would have required me to stay after hours. I didn't want to be there for the hours that I was there.
Kind of like my work today. I don't like to be there as well. Get it set record tonight. Record tonight. Get it set, record tonight, I guess is what he's saying. Let's see. I agree. Kurt says, I agree with Brent. Go back and look at the old Madison Square matches for Bruno. The slightest thing he did in the ring, the crowd pop was incredible. You don't hear that with today's product, except if you are Bray Wyatt, you come out and you just take your mask off. Tremendous response. I believe if it takes too long to get them there, they'll kill them off. And that's the worst thing that they could do. You've got momentum, and they need to go with that momentum while they have it, because 4 months from now, the momentum may be gone.
Yeah.
Because if they do similar stuff to build them back up, well, they had already done that before, so they're just rehashing what they had just done. So I hope they don't. I hope they don't do that. I'm pretty sure they're going to, but I hope they don't. Roman needs to expand his vocabulary beyond acknowledge me.
Well, that's that Kate's phrase. You can't sell T-shirts
I have to
if you don't
admit,
say it all the time.
I have to admit that the Sami Zayn, is that right? Sami, yeah,
Yes,
is that his name? His speech to Logan Paul about being number 2 was awesome. He broke everybody up. That's not really what you want to do, but he broke everybody up. And old Logan Paul's looking at him. He composes himself, and then he looks over at Roman, and Roman's laughing, and then he breaks out again. And they're showing this. I mean, they're getting right up on their face. And it was talking about that you're nothing but a number 2 on the shoe of the head of the table or something to that degree. And it was pretty funny, I have to admit. I watched it several times to watch the response.
Did you hear Jerry Lawler tell what was the guy's name you just talked about?
Sami Zayn?
Sami Zayn. Did you hear what Jerry Lawler said about him? He said he did not need to take his T-shirt off because he looked like a bird without its feathers. He needed to put that shirt and keep that shirt on.
He has a point.
Whoever that is, Kevin Finley, Buzz Benson. I guess it's.
We're talking about that the Universal Wrestling Association with Lou Thez.
Hey, I hit Rick's comment up there already. Was that spoiler Frank Burrell?
I saw him on there. I saw the introductions, and I haven't been able to see that entire episode yet. But I'll check it out. There'll be no doubt that that's him.
Yeah, I believe it. It probably was. I think it was. I think going back and looking at it, I think it was. Rodney, I believe that was Lou Thesz's promotion.
This is really.
Lou talks about that in his book.
But what did he choose? He was over more.
I think he was mad at Goulas.
Oh, okay.
And in the book, if I remember correctly, he talks about how they did okay, but he probably should never have started that.
How long did he say how long it lasts?
I don't think
there's several episodes.
Yeah, I don't think it lasted but a few months.
I know he ran outside. I actually put Facebook a post where he ran outside. I believe at the stadium downtown where they played baseball at for years, and I don't know what the name of that.
He was talking about one of the things is he didn't realize or just didn't have the forethought to realize that he was going to be stuck there. He couldn't go anywhere else. That if he was the owner and the promoter, he had to be there, all the time. And he was losing offers from Japan and, all around the world trying to make his own promotion, whereas he was making more money by going to Japan and other places like that. And I think he was having some financial difficulties by that point too, because he had a hotel, I believe, out in Arizona that was losing a large amount of money, and he was trying to offload that, and so just a lot of things led to him closing the doors.
Will somebody hit the like for Mako? Yeah, hit that like button. Hit that like. We never say that anymore. We used to for a long period of time. We would say, hit the like button. We figure people now know what to do. Yeah, hit that notification bell.
That would be the thumbs up thing there.
Yeah, the thumbs up. Yeah.
Or down.
We've had a couple of downs, and it don't bother me.
That's okay. Well, at least we know you. At least we know you're watching.
There's another guy that does a Facebook page. He got upset because people would down him and say bad things about him. Now I think he's taking a break from his Facebook page because of that. By the way, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't bother us.
So does this guy talk about wrestling, or is he talking about?
Yeah, he pretty well does the same thing that we do. It's old school.
Oh, no, he can't. This is such a level that we have here that he cannot reach it. It doesn't matter. It's only one of him.
I don't know that he does I think he just does a Facebook page.
Oh, he does a Facebook page. So it's just basically it's just him. Maybe he needs to do like we do and create a group.
Here's the problem that he had is that people would get upset because he would put somebody like Bridger Bob Sweettan, which we all know was not the greatest man in the world. Maybe a Jimmy Snuka. We all know that's it. But that is, unfortunately, those people were in the professional wrestling business, and you have to kind of not overlook, but we understand.
Well, you can separate the in-work, the in-ring work that they did from their personal life. You simply have. I think that's reasonable to separate personal from the professional.
There'd be tag teams that he would say that we're good and they would say that we're bad, stuff like that. So I think he's has a problem. But we grew up in the wrestling business, so there's not much you can say about us that we could care less. We've been called everything but a human being for years.
Yeah, that was just our father.
Yeah.
And
I heard most of that from my ex-wife.
So it doesn't. Because if to be in the pro wrestling business, you had to have a thick skin to begin with, and if you didn't, you couldn't survive it. ABC booking is what Richard Hood said in 1944. They called it, and in 1944. David Lawson, did the UWA running as Gulas? Yes. I thought it did have a great production.
The production was awesome. David, maybe somebody knew, where did that come from? And what was on the footage that we had was Channel 5 out of Nashville. Whatever the studio they had the crowd on three sides.
I want to say the where they filmed in their basically office was out of Nashville.
I thought when it was on Channel 11, it was Live Atlanta Wrestling from Kevin Penley. That's what I could not pin down when it was started to be called Georgia Championship Wrestling. I'm doing a lot of research and cannot figure that out. I seen the show that Rodney's talking about, a couple episodes from Rick Brooks. I read on Google that Mr. Bennett's wife, Maria, would like to book the women's division in RH, but Tony Khan stated that he was the only one that would be doing the booking.
Is that what he's calling it?
Also, George Gulas had a UWA in the early 80s. Yes, that was awesome.
Oh, my goodness. Let us tell, shall we? Let us tell. In a typical Gulas fashion, and I one day I would like to talk to George because he was going to have some good stories. But and I'm not trying to besmirch him, but it's typical the way they run the promotion. For weeks they said next week on the program we're going to see Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat's going to be here. And it's George doing the commentary. Yeah, coming here next week we're going to have Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat, yes, ladies and gentlemen, will be here on this program. And then the next week it comes up, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you and welcome to UWA Vicky Steamboat. Vicky Steamboat. It was Vic Steamboat.
Get a Mr. Wrestling 3.
Yes, he did.
I believe the only people that was worth anything on that card was Jimmy Powell, and there was some. What was the young kids?
Tojo was on there. Tojo was on there too.
Yeah, Tojo was on there, but he by that time he was kind of past his prime. But there was Jeff Young. Jeff Young.
Jeff Young was awesome.
Was on there, and I think he was with Jimmy Powell. I think they were the Dirty White Boys. I'm pretty sure they were, and that was the only people that I thought was any good.
I saw Jimmy Powell on a Georgia Championship Wrestling show. He and I think it was him and Tom Pritchard against Ole Anderson, Stan Anderson. Poor Jimmy. They beat him pretty good. Ole, Ole. I guarantee you, Jimmy had some Matt Burns after that. I'm telling you right now.
Norman Carr said, "I love the episode about Memphis territory. Yes, it was very good. If you've not seen it, you can watch it on YouTube."
On this Universal with the loose this, I saw Pez Watley on the episode before I was able to turn out, and the spoiler that they're talking about was just about ready to wrestle. They were, oh my goodness, they were. Al Costello was the manager in that particular one.
Ernie had a white suit. And that Jay Strongbow thing.
Yes.
I can remember as kids not liking it and saying it was not.
Well, honestly, the chops of Strongbow made us cringe.
Yes, they did. Kids go, oh my God, what in the world? Pensacola in the house, Bubba Griffith.
He fits right in with today's WWE though.
Yeah, that's true.
Was kind of held his chop up.
Main event wrestler back before he was I remember as a fan just not caring with Strongbow. I wonder what happened.
I really believe it's because of the comparison with Wahoo. I really do, in my opinion.
Or just in comparison to everybody, there was just something missing. But he had been wrestling since the 50s, so by the time it was 1979, 1980, so. Let's see. Barry Rosenstein. Georgia Championship Wrestling aired on WTOC TV, Savannah, Georgia, 12/16/1972, 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. Debut episode, previous broadcast at the time was Big Time Wrestling with Ed Capro from the studios of WA11 Atlanta for the previous last 2 weeks. Let's see, where was I at there? For the previous last 2 weeks, Championship Wrestling for Florida aired. This was after the death of Ray Gunkel when the wrestlers broke away to join All South Wrestling. I have this on a reel-to-reel audio.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we would love to hear that. We would love to hear that. Let's see, I just hit that. Fellas, my car is having trouble getting on tonight. Well, sorry to hear that.
I think he made it on. I think he made it on later on.
Oh, okay, good.
It's funny he talks about doing a reel-to-reel. We didn't have a reel-to-reel, but we had the old cassette tape that we would sit next to the TV and record wrestling. And we've still got them. They're here at the house. We have them.
Christopher Hughes is with us. How you doing, Christopher? Thank you so much for being on here. Michael Abar is with us. He said, "Oh, we have a problem here. I did not get a notification for tonight's show for some reason."
Yeah, Facebook's going to have to be fired.
Can you do the show on the Carpenters Enhancement Talent in Pro Wrestling? Yes, we could do that. There were many great ones. Wahoo played for the Jets and the great Miami Dolphins. He definitely had drawing power up there. Who made that tackle? Wahoo! Yeah.
The only NFL player to ever have his first name, or basically how he was nicknamed, on his jersey without having his last name on there.
Yeah, Michael, we don't have any kind of control over the notifications. I believe. Can you not hit something up there to give you
if you see when you post that, the upcoming events, if anybody can go there and just hit notify, then you'll get the notification.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have control of the notifications. That is done by Facebook entirely. So
maybe they were told by the FBI not to do it.
Let's see. What's up, my friend Jerry Oates? Jerry Oates, what a tremendous wrestler. Man, he was.
Yeah, Jerry's great.
With Raymond, his brother, as the Quebecers in WF, and Carl Olay. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they had done that, but I wasn't for sure.
Olay came back and did some other gimmick there. Pierre Lefebvre, did he? I can't remember.
Yeah, well, wasn't he a pirate?
Yeah.
Did he come back as a pirate? Jock had a great drop kick. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He truly did. But he also we loved his matches. We've said this before while he was in South Asian because that was a great time to go to the concession.
That's right. One of the most brilliant things ever. Is he listening? I wonder. Anyway, well, I just want to say it, and we made tremendous fun of him when he got on TV and he told the people, he said, I feel homesick. And instead of hollering USA, USA, holler Canada, Canada. And I said, there's nobody going to do that. He would get out there. He said, I'll show you tonight. They'll say it. He grabs the microphone and goes, Canada, 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 against Boris Zukov, I think it was. Zukov later. Changed his name for obvious reasons. So he gets out there and he goes, Canada, Canada. The people start for a little bit. And then when he puts the microphone down, they start going USA. We made fun of him and said, hey, that Canada thing's working out, isn't it?
You know, Jock had great matches. I don't want to take away because he had tremendous matches with Super Olympia.
And a great sense of humor. Love the Pink Panther. You should have seen this car he had. It had pink fuzz all inside. He loved Chief Inspector Jacques Clouseau. He was a big fan. I guess he still is. I mean, everybody's a big fan of Peter Sellers, but yeah. It had. Did it have pink dice on the? I've never seen anything like it.
He had tremendous matches, but for a while he was going against a guy named Vic Reigns. That's the matches that just did not because he had great matches with Boris. Yeah. But for some reason the matches he had with Vic Reigns was just not any good. And I don't think it was Jock's fault. I think it was Vic Reigns' fault. Rick Brooks, I remember being shocked when I first found out Chris Goat and his tag team partner Ron Dupree were actually partners in real life. Well, Charles Bellflower, I am with you. I have no comment thus far. Richard Hood, hello, my friend Donnie Hester. Donnie Hester is with us. Wendy Harkins heard Sarah Logan may be coming back to work alongside the Viking Raiders.
Yeah.
Any new classic video from Columbus? I have seen some stuff from Columbus.
That and the one that I found, the one tremendous show. I'm not sure why Knoxville had a fit over the production because it was a decent production, and you got to hear Jim Carlisle, which one of the best commentators ever. A tremendous show, and the fact of the matter is that as Georgia basically abandons, as Georgia Championship Wrestling basically abandons Georgia, and they stopped doing that television. Just a terrible mistake to stop those local productions. It wasn't a good idea. In fact, was the beginning of the end for wrestling in Georgia. Not in Ohio, West Virginia, Michigan, they were doing unbelievable business, but they just left Georgia just sitting there.
Yeah, I love Jim Carlisle. When he would come out to start the weekly shows there, he got a huge response, better than Lars Anderson.
Sam Houston is awesome. Yes, he is. Yeah, we always like
Sam's good.
He was always good to me, and he was always good to us. George Lambert or Ben Masters said, "Happy heavenly birthday to the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, who would have been 77 today." Yeah. Also, a great wrestler, a great person, and make you laugh in the back. I like Sean better after he went.
Oh, wow. What a tremendous team he and never mind. I'm not going there. I almost got in trouble there. Never mind.
Yeah, we're gonna go through one more. Did the West brothers ever remember their late father talking about the I-40 crash? Yes, he talked about it. Took the lives of Sam Bass, Pepe Lopez, and Frank Hester. Yes, talked to Jimmy Dykes a lot about it. That changed Jimmy Dykes' life. We talked about that on the show, but it did change his life. He actually wanted out of the wrestling business, and pretty much did after a few years. But yeah, he talked about it a lot. About what happened that particular night. Christopher Hughes, I'm not even going to go where he went with that one.
Now I'm going to have to go up there and find out what he said.
Hey, Brent Run, have you ever thought about having? I'd love to have Bill Apter on here. Yeah, if he would come on here, we'd love to have. I know he's got his own stuff going though, and
oh, I did see that.
Christopher Hughes said he does not like Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson always liked the UWF from Vegas. Jeff Dobbs, isn't it about time for Charles Robertson, Little Nature Boy, to retire? Let's see. Wendy Harkins, was Asia Street the first wrestler to design his own title belt? Possibly.
Yeah, there's probably other wrestlers that were world champions in their National Guard armories across the nation that made their own belts. You never know. It could happen.
How many territories back in the time were allowed to go to different states? Is that what he said? None. Territories were the UWO was loaded down.
Well, I mean, well, let's think about that. Jarrett and Nick Ulis both ran in Kentucky and in Tennessee at the same time. So, and then of course the Crockett
overlapped, but
sure, and then the Crockett
carved out.
And then, of course, Jim Crockett Sr. had Virginia and the Carolinas together as well.
Christopher Hughes, the WWF was loaded down. The old issue 86 really hurt the area bad. But we were kind of there, and that was not the only issue they had. And we'll get into that. I tell you what, we're going to have to leave. We're going to have to go over to the supporter channel, and we'll talk about that and talk about how bad it got as far as the arena shows. And how bad they became, because they did get really, really bad, and maybe the reasonings behind more than just the oil issues. We were there. We kind of seen some stuff going on that was bad for business. All right, before we leave, and we are going to have to go. It's 8:37, so we need to get off here. Jack, anything that we need to talk about before we leave?
Barry Rosenstein put this well, not showing, but I'll read it. It was, hold on. This was the card on the first Georgia Championship Wrestling debut show on December 16th, 1972. The host was Sterling Brewer. The referee was Eddie Smith. Buddy Colt was a Southern Heavyweight Champion versus Don Curtis. Bob Armstrong defeated Carlos Montez III. Carlos Montez. Dory Funk versus Jack Briscoe was a draw. It says guest Eddie Graham. Maybe he was the guest referee. Roy Lee Welch and Ron Fuller defeated Jack Evans and Gray Fox.
Tremendous, probably tremendous card, and was probably good to do. For those of you who we didn't get to your questions and answers, we apologize for that, but we could probably stay on here till 10 o'clock, and we just don't have that time anymore on our, since we have a time frame now that we have to do our shows. So
Christopher Hughes says the assassin Jody Hamilton made his own belt, and of course that's when Dusty was out, had the audacity to put flyers on the Dreams truck.
Now Reggie Parks and somebody were the tag champs out in Central States, and the belts that they had were just ragged. And he asked the promoter about buying new belts, and he said, no, I don't have the money for it. So Reggie designed the tag team belts that were prominent there for many years after he left.
Alan Martin made his own belt.
That's right.
Yeah.
He made his junior U.S. junior title belt. It was a good belt, too. Yeah, all right, Jack, anything to talk about before we leave?
I'm done. ProWrestlingTees.com.
Rodney?
I have said it once and I'll say it again. The WWE's insistence on cake abuse must stop. This cannot continue. There will be protest.
Yes, Michael Barr. Reggie Parks was a great professional wrestler, and he wrestled for many years before he started making belts. Thank you so much for being part
30 years.
of being part of Pro Wrestling Inside Out. We certainly do appreciate it. For those of you who are supporters of our channel, we are going over right now, and we're going to talk about Mid-South Wrestling. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what we really felt like that really happened at that moment in time, because some things happened during that time. We were there 1983, 84, 85, 86, 87, on and off. We went back and forth from Continental Championship Wrestling to Mid-South Wrestling. I think we did that a lot. Maybe
Michael Barr's ready to, Christopher Hughes ready to go with the protest as well, and Michael Barr is going to sign the petition. And I have a feeling that the name of Dark Journey is going to come up in that conversation.
Dark Journey, Michael Hayes, Ken Mantell, Bill Watts,
Missing Link,
Missy Hyatt. We'll talk about that on the supporter channel. We're going over there right now. So go over there with us if you are a supporter. $2.99 a month can get you and what we're going to talk about that we won't talk about on this one. Thank you so much. We'll see everybody next week right here on Pro Wrestling Inside Now.